The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
Welcome back to another episode of the Unlikely Innovators. I'm Mike Commito, and I'm joined as always by Steve Gravel. This is a show where we explore often the unlikely journeys of innovators, entrepreneurs, and today, people in politics. So we're so pleased to be joined by the Mayor of the City of Greater Sudbury, Paul Lefebvre. You're not a stranger to the Unlikely Innovators. We're happy to have you back in our new Eastlink studio. Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, our pleasure. When we spoke to you first for the show, we were in your office, and I think this was pretty early into your term, your first term as mayor. And so now we're sitting here, we're I think a couple years removed from that first interview. So you're 3 years into your first term. We just wanted to ask you to take a look back on, I guess, what you've learned and maybe what surprised you about municipal politics. Certainly you're not a rookie to politics, different levels, but just wondering how you reflect back on the first 3 years so far.
That's a good question. I think you always learn, right? There's always something to learn. Surprises, probably not as much, because I kind of knew what to expect in politics, but certainly learning, at the level of municipal government, it's all about collaboration. Certainly, you got to collaborate with your councillors, because obviously you need a majority vote to pass anything that you want. You need to have staff on board as well, and the community on board for the projects that you want to move forward and ideas that you have. So certainly learning how to really, that collaborative aspect. The surprises, I think that when people mobilize together in the community and when they have the right advocacy piece of how things can move very quickly. And certainly that's what I've learned, that we have amazing volunteers, amazing organizations in our city that have great vision, some great ideas to how to move our city forward, and sometimes they just need some help to bring that forward. So I really am surprised, certainly, that locally, how when we mobilize, then that really, you can really affect change in a positive way. And so that, I'm saying I'm surprised because, again, I had seen it before, but now in the role that I am in right now, and seeing how that can transform into real action, I think it's really powerful. Do
you find that, obviously when you were at the federal level, people still would see you out in the community. When you're here, is there a little bit more immediacy now? When you're at the grocery store, for example, someone may come up to you and say, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, I've got an idea, or I want you to help solve my problem."
I try to limit my outings in that type of sphere, because my wife always says, "What time are you going to come back?" Because sometimes if I pick up a few items, it takes me a few hours. Which I enjoy. I enjoy all the conversations, and certainly some people have some concerns or have some ideas, and we can chat. I enjoy that. However, the schedule is limited sometimes, so that's so you're right. I feel that the role of the mayor, there's people notice you a lot more, and people want to engage with you a lot more than where I was at the federal level. But again, I enjoy all those interactions. People have some their concerns, right? And it's important for me to be able to move around the city, because it's a huge city, right? And that's why I try to go to Cape Girardeau once in a while, and I go to small places. When I go to my camp in Westrie, I stop in Lefebvre, right? I try to do these detours just to make sure that if somebody wants to engage, or at least that I get to hear what's going on the ground over there. So certainly that's a councilor's role, but as mayor, I try to get around our city. Like I said, it's a huge city. I realize how massive it is, but I try to do my best to at least to be around and to participate.
I didn't know you had a camp in Westrie.
Yeah, we do fishing there and hunting there.
I was going to say the fishing's unreal up there.
Yeah, it's really good fishing. You got to know where to go, but the fishing, it's really good.
I go to Goganda every year.
Oh wow, that's a good spot.
Yeah, and the main lake, like Lake Goganda, is okay. Yeah, but then it's the side lakes, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing in Westrie. You have Duchesne Lake and Duchambe Lake. It's all the lakes around that are really good too.
You got to drag a boat motor sometimes with you on a portage, but it's definitely worth it.
We have quads. We have all the toys to make it happen.
All to get the fish.
Exactly.
We were speaking about different levels of government off air before we started. I'm always sort of shocked, maybe not shocked, that could be the cynic in me, just how laudatory different levels of government, in particular provincial government, is of their relationship with you. Because you could be cynical about partisan politics. You used to be part of the Liberal Party of Canada. But you have, it seems from the outside, a great relationship with this provincial government. How important is it during a time of perceived divisions and partisanship to maintain relationships like that across what you could consider party lines?
That is I believe one of my number one duties as the mayor of the city are the constituents, the people of Sudbury, don't care about color or party. It's about relationships, and certainly be able to address their concerns and the needs that we have as a city. And also the current government under the Ford leadership, I get along very well because there's a lot of stuff that they're doing that I completely believe in, right? So for me, is put the colors aside, it's basically policy-wise, right? We've received a lot of support from them for just on the infrastructure side, and certainly on the programs that they have on housing, the Build Faster Fund, obviously that we've qualified for the last 2 years, and so we've received a lot of funding from them, and a lot of, again, with the Premier, and I met with the Premier, as you say, I have a good relationship with him, and he'll take my call any time, and if I want to meet with him, he'll usually take my meetings as well. But when the whole crisis with the U.S. was happening, we was talking about critical minerals in Ontario. Well, I said, well, critical minerals in Ontario, it's Sudbury. Critical minerals are basically, you got your nickel and copper and cobalt, which comes from here. And so when you talk about Ontario critical minerals, Sudbury, so I thanked him for that, and we had a really good conversation. So I think we're all on the same page. And when the Premier talks about the whole supply chain of EV vehicles in Ontario, the potential that it has, I've been singing that song forever, right? I mean, so for me, I was like, wow, he gets it, right? And here we are singing from the same page. So how can we support that? How can we encourage that? And the way that I speak to them is that we are part of your solution. We want to be part of your solution, and we can really address a lot of your needs of what you're trying to achieve. So you have a city here that is willing, ready, and able to participate with you and to support you in your goals, because we all benefit as a province, just not in Sudbury, across Northern Ontario and across the province as well. So yeah, I've developed great relationships. A lot of I think things are aligned between my vision and certainly and what they're doing as well as a province. So I think for me, it's number one thing to do for the people of Sudbury, just that, and that's how I function as well.
I think alignment's a good key word, because I think, speaking of singing from the same song sheet, I've been shouting from the rooftops the last few years about critical minerals in Sudbury, and how if we're going to call it a generational opportunity, we need to definitely do more on that. Yep. But I think the level of seriousness critical minerals has been now dealt with provincially, I think is a new thing for us, because it's kind of that portfolio that jumps from different ministries all the time. There seems to be a level of seriousness. Do you feel that too?
100%. Well, right now it's really one of the top things in geopolitics that we're dealing with, right? And actually, I had the honor of being speaking to the Canadian Club, right? As mayor, I was one of the first mayors outside of the city of Toronto to speak to that club in Toronto. And the message was certainly critical minerals is right now at the top list of certainly why the crisis that we're seeing and the negotiation between Canada and the U.S. Certainly, President Trump is trying to get them from Ukraine, get them from Greenland, and so because they see that they're so behind the eight ball with respect to China, and here we are. We had a role to play. Obviously, very disappointed the way that they see the outcomes that they can. I think there's much easier outcomes if we collaborate with the U.S. But that's why you're going to see me in the fall and going into next year, doing more conversations with European countries and more conversations with the U.S. as well, just so that they realize, right, the importance of Canada to them. Hey, often they don't know that they only have one nickel mine. It's in Michigan, and they ship their stuff here to process. They don't realize that over there.
Sometimes they have to be told.
Well, that's why we got to tell them that we are together on this, right? So just to remind them of that, because we're going to go through this administration, right? And after that, to me, it's like, okay, we always got to start planning after this administration. So we can't let our foot off the electric vehicle pedal, right? Because it needs to keep forward. Right now, there's people saying, well, let's abandon the file because Trump doesn't want to go there. Well, Europe and China are already going full blast ahead. And if we do not continue our best attempts and putting in the resources, we're going to continue to be, just basically shipping our nickel and our resources around the world, and we're not going to get the advanced processing of it and all the great jobs and the advanced technology, and then our post-secondary education systems they get the benefit from that from new programs. So to me, it's all related, and that's why, the critical mineral file is hot right now. Even in the last federal election and provincial election this year, they talked about that. It was one of the first times for me. It was like, wow, finally they're talking about us, right? Indirectly, and I'm hoping to see from the federal government in the budget in the fall some more investments in that fall, more directed investments, because we need more supply. And being the processing capital of critical minerals of the world, where there are 5 facilities that we have here, we want more to be done here. I really feel that we have a huge advantage over other communities, because often I talk to other mayors and talk about critical minerals, they have no clue. right? How all that comes about. But I often tell them, well, sure, you may want some of the advanced processing and manufacturing, but we'll send you our pollution with it. We'll send you the slag that goes with it, and obviously nobody wants that. So yeah, like I said, it's a hot file right now, and I think it's going to be like that for the next generation. So it's ours to seize. I think we're well positioned, very well positioned to do that. My job is to advocate as best as I can to all levels of government, obviously nationally and internationally as well. What's interesting. Last year,
I want to hold that point because we're gonna go to break.
Okay, sure.
And then we're gonna have more from Paul Lefebvre on the critical mineral file right when we come back.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back, and we're still joined by Paul Lefebvre, Mayor of Sudbury. You were about to talk more about sort of the importance Sudbury has in the critical mineral space, particularly in lieu of this trade war and tariffs, but just the successes that we've had most recently, especially in international attraction of interest. So please carry on.
Yeah, though it's been a very eye-opening, certainly, and it's an honor that we've had, I believe, 5 ambassadors come to Sudbury just in 2025. From Finland, we've had us from Belgium, from France, from Kazakhstan, and from Japan. So they've all come here, and then actually in a few weeks, the senator from Utah and a congressman from Utah are coming for a 2-day visit to Sudbury. We've never had that before. That has never happened, and I think it's because of the level of interest in critical minerals. What is Sudbury? What do they do over there? What is the potential there? And so for me, it's a great opportunity through those offices to create relationships, right? To see opportunities for more, certainly, direct investments in our country, and also for our business, local business, to maybe export their knowledge, because they're looking for that expertise, right, around the world. And we have the Canadian brand behind us, which is a trusted brand, very supported brand. So I think that, again, we are on the cusp of we're already doing well, but I think that we can bring it to the next level. And so that's why I actually brought a delegation to Japan and Korea in April, right, to talk about critical minerals and the importance of it, because obviously when we look at the battery supply chain, one piece that we don't do in Ontario is a cathode and the PCAM. So, and I know the Premier wants to do that, and the best place to do that is here in Sudbury. There's no other place you would want to do that. That being said, certainly the manufacturers are from Korea and Japan. You got the POSCOs, you got the LG. So I met with all of them, but it just wasn't me alone. So I brought the chief of a tick machine, Craig Nuchtai, was with me. We had folks from Frontier Lithium, folks from Vale, folks from Glencore, folks from Cobalt. So basically, Electra Trent Mell was with us as well. And so so we had a strong, and actually from Magna as well. So Magna Mining, so which is a junior that is really on the up and up. So just to show our ability to provide, right, and the fact that we have processing plants that are not full, right. So if we team up with the right partners, and we actually met with Panasonic as well. And what was interesting is all of their cathodes and PCAMs and all those of their batteries are all done in China, right? And when it comes to North America, they're seeing the potential of doing North America, but where is that going to happen? Again, it won't happen overnight. But for me as mayor, the only thing I can do is start laying the groundwork to show that the door's open. After that, it's up to industry and then obviously other levels of government to help us get there. But for me, it's just to say we're, again, willing, ready, and able to do this. We have the talent, we have the land, and we have the resources to address this need in North America, well, around the world. So we're going to continue doing that. So I think it's a very positive time in that industry, in that world for us.
I've actually stolen that the people, the land, the resources.
You stole that? You can take it. Take it.
It seems like something you probably want to spread more.
100%. Because we do, right? Yeah. We do have the land to do in more industrial lands. We have the talent, world-class talent. People around the world are looking for our talent, and the resources are below our feet. Yeah. We have more, from what I'm told, to extract than we've already extracted for the last 100 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it is wild, right? And when you think about that, and also when you look at the whole ecosystem, that there's potential of actually taking the old pollution, the slag. There's probably more minerals in the slag than there's underground as well. So the potential in this area, but we need to have other levels of government that are wanting to make it happen. So That's why I go to Ottawa. That's why I go to Toronto and keep reminding them of that, because it's not top of mind for them, because they don't know that world. So we got to remind them of that. And again, that's my job, I believe, as mayor, is to keep pushing that.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you're doing a lot of that big picture thinking ahead to the goals you have for our community.
Yep.
One of the things we wanted to ask you is, obviously that strategic vision is really important, but we do know the reality that in the next few months we're going to be going into an election year.
Yep.
So how do you balance, obviously the long-term big picture thinking, but the reality that you need to get reelected in order to keep going with these ambitions and goals you have?
That's a good question. For me, just you got to stay true to your vision and true to in what you believe in. That, for me in politics has always been about, here's what I'm trying to deliver, here's what I'm trying to do with our city, here's what I'm trying to do for the area. And as we say in French, que sera, sera. Like the people will decide. If that's what they want, that's what they want, that's fine. I will move on. I often say, if I get reelected, my wife will be very happy, right? So it's all good, right? I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm trying to contribute in the way that I can with that office to try to improve our city for what it was to where I believe it can be. And so for me, there is a balance. It's always tough because people, at the end of the day, it's about how it affects their daily lives. Yeah. Right? Even though I can share this great vision, they may believe in it, but if they are struggling, right? It's how can you help me today? And I'm very sensitive to that, and I'm very aware of that. And so for me, it's like, how do we balance that out, right? So affordable housing is key, right? And create more housing supply as well. We have a lot of youth that I want them to stay in our city, but if they can't afford to live here, not easy. Challenge is, if you go to Ottawa, Montreal, or Toronto, good luck trying to find a place cheaper than here. But the reality is still expensive, right? And so we're trying to balance all that out. But for me, is showcasing the potential of where we can be, and now believing it. And we're seeing major investments in our city, just not from the city's perspective, but certainly from investors. We're seeing the old hospital being brought down. It's a massive. I estimate $250 to $300 million investment. That's one of that is happening there. Certainly, we're seeing the event center. We're seeing the cultural hub happening. There's 3 hotels being built right now. Probably another 3 hotels being built on top of that. So you're looking at 6 new hotels. So it's a massive transformation of our city, which is all positive. Because I've always been saying this, we need to grow the population base to create more density to make sure that we can afford to live here. Because there we have, as I said before, a massive city with massive infrastructure, the largest per capita in the country. And when we look at density per population, we're the lowest in the country. So put that together, that's why we need to create those opportunities. Yeah.
Well, you were going to try to steal my break?
Yeah, I was going to throw it a break, but you plied through the last one. We're going to talk a little bit more about the city and some of the sort of misnomers that we've heard in the past, and then Mike will bring that up when we come back from break, more with Paul Lefebvre.
So we're back with Mayor Paul Lefebvre, Mayor of the City of Greater Sudbury. Paul, one of the things we wanted to ask you about is, we've been talking about business and all the great things that have been happening in Sudbury, and I think we've seen that through the international interest in the city. One of the things that we've often heard before, and I'm sure you've heard it yourself, is that when people think of Sudbury, they don't necessarily think of it as being open for business as maybe other cities. But I think so far in your term, you've started to change that perception. There's obviously still a long way for us to go. What are the other things that we need to do, collectively, to ensure that people, when they think of Sudbury, they think of Sudbury as being open for business and wanting to partner and wanting to do these types of deals?
Yeah, I think we don't sing our praises loud enough of where we're at right now as a city and what's going on. We're seeing a lot of new businesses lined up to come to Sudbury from the GTA, from the Waterloo Kitchener area, and they're coming here and saying what a great place to be, and they're trying to bring in other businesses. They show up and they love it. Often, if you've always lived in Sudbury and certainly have had some challenges, but then your perception, if you never went out of the city, lived outside, you don't appreciate what you have while you're here, right? And so there's a bit of that. And so, but certainly for us, we've done a few measures as a city. Certainly our industrial land policy to really encourage that. Like, we're seeing some major development now in the area to try to reduce some of their costs. We're kind of rebuilding the wastewater on La Salle and Lisabella to open up another 500 acres of industrial land. There's obviously a shared agreement on the old key ED land with respect to the road, and now they're building a 12-inch pipe that's going to service a lot more development over there. So there's lots happening in that. So we are putting the money forward, right? And so this, I believe now it's a misnomer that, We are not an easy jurisdiction to do business in. I often see the difference between when they're coming from the outside, coming in, saying, oh, what a great place to do business, but the locals that had never worked outside of our city saying, oh, it's always tough. Well, yes, you need a permit. Right? You need permits. There's some basic stuff that you need to follow.
That's not really different. You have to do that everywhere, right?
Exactly. And then when I'm told, oh my God, it takes me a year and a half in that jurisdiction to get a permit, I got it 2 months in February.
That's right.
So you're seeing a lot of accolades coming to our staff as a city. And so when I can have an opportunity to kind of remind folks of that, because I think we're stuck to 30, 40 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, that we had challenges getting permits for this, and that. But the challenge for our city is certainly our topography. Right? When you are building a road or building water, wastewater, and the ups and downs that we have because we have to blast rocks, right? It's a challenge. There's no doubt about that. So servicing land is expensive here. But once it's going up and running, it's all full. I often say on the residential side, everything's full. Industrial side, everything's full. Certainly on the commercial side, there's opportunities, maybe in the downtown, but there's a lot of interest downtown, more than ever, probably in the last decade or more, right? So we're seeing that, and I'm very confident in the next year or two, that's going to be full. So there's already some pressures coming in, and that's why for us it's more, how do we ensure that we get more housing? How do we ensure we have more developed, more serviced industrial lands and more commercial opportunities? So we're aligning ourselves, that's why we're changing zoning bylaws as well, so that our nodes and corridors, that you can build some commercial on the bottom, residential on top. We don't really do that here. We don't have a culture of that down south. That's all they do. That's my vision, is saying that needs to be part and parcel. So
density.
Yes, density. So we have your commercial, maybe some office as well as some residential. That's what they do. If there's opportunities to create that vibe as well, right? When you live in that type of setting. So those are kind of things that we're doing. So yes, I think it's now. I think that's a thing of the past. The ones that keep repeating that are the ones that haven't seen a development happen, or they haven't been outside and they're having a hard time inside, and they don't realize a lot of the rules that we have are just not imposed by the city. These are provincial rules, right? These are regulations brought in by the province, right? And so again, we're going to work through that. We're encouraging more that we can do, but certainly I think we're seeing all the investments coming to our city right now and more in the pipeline. I think that just goes to show where we're at. And it was interesting because I was at the conference of the Federation of Northern Municipalities, and on the screen they had put up kind of the new tax assessments of all the northern municipalities.
Pretty exciting.
Well, we are batting it out of the park. Like we're at 181 million of new assessment. Number two was the Sioux, I think, at around 62 million. Right? And I think North Bay was at 30 something million. So this whole thing of, oh my God, they do it's so better in the Sioux and in North Bay. Yeah, there's investments, but when we compare ourselves, it's pretty clear that we are the powerhouse of the North.
Well, and I think that's part of it too. I mean, when you are sort of on the top in a region, it's easy to poke holes at that. But we're on top for a reason, and it's not just our mineral wealth. It's all those layered benefits you're talking about. I think I want to give you the opportunity. This is a bit of a crystal ball question as we come to the end. So in this future that I'm painting for you, you've disappointed your wife. You've won re-election. You're sitting at the end of your second term and you're looking back. What has changed, if you're looking at our community, what has changed on that last day of your second term that you could point to?
That's a great question. I hope, my hope is that people have pride of place. We'll be proud of our city and where we are at, and that our kids want to live here. Our parents want to live here as well, and certainly that they can grow old and healthy and have a great vibrant city that they have. That there's an offer of outdoor amenities as well as on the art side as well. And if you want to do sports and culture, it's all there. And we have a thriving, certainly food scene as well, because you have all sorts of eclectic different food scenes that we have. So for me, that people have jobs, right? Have housing opportunities. It's certainly a place where they are proud to live in, and that they want to certainly have pride of place, and that they want to raise families and just live a good lifestyle. And that to me is the golden standard. We kind of forget why we do all this, right? We can do all this is because at the end of the day, you want to wake up in the morning and have and have a beautiful day that is lined up in front of you. And I think we have all the tools to make that happen, and we're I think pulling away at those tools, using all those tools together to make it, to build it up. And I think if at the end of a second term, if I could look back and say we're either there or certainly on that road to make it happen, that to me is success.
I don't care what political stripe is, you got to get excited about that.
I think it's an exciting time. I think as somebody who's, I've been here now for 25 years, it is really like,
It feels like a lot longer for me.
that I've been here.
Yeah.
But no, it's a very exciting time, and I think that point of pride, I think, is something that I think we all feel, right? And I think hopefully that's something that we can pass down to the generations coming up, right? Because you often hear people talk about, I want to leave Sudbury, but then they come back and they realize this is why I want to come back and why I'm going to stay here, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because I just read my son's graduation from grade 12. 90% are staying.
Yeah.
They've never seen that at that high school. That is unreal. Before I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to change it. I want to live here because I have a good quality of life. I can find a job here. I can raise a family here, or just be who I want to be.
Yeah.
That to me is, I get very excited about that.
Yeah.
I almost get goosebumps when I hear that saying because they share. I'm not the only one thinking this, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more people that want to see that. So that's exciting.
Well, I think I can't think of a better way to end that if we're all on pins and needles with goosebumps. I think we've done a good job. Mayor Lefebvre, thanks so much for coming.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for what you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.